Welcome to the Real Estate Jam session. You know, if you're a real estate investor and you're not working on your marketing and your branding, you're going to find that it can really create a lot of success for you. I know I wish when I started I would have done this. So I think I found a little success a lot earlier on. But I asked Sharon Vornholt to come in today. Sharon is a marketing and branding expert, and she's going to walk us through what we should be looking for in our branding across all of our platforms, as well as marketing tips. So it should be a great video, very informational for you. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Joe Killinger. I've been a real estate entrepreneur for over 20 years, and I use this platform to really walk you through all of our tips and tricks and mistakes we've made, successes we've had, and I ask guests to come on to do the same thing. So we put these videos out every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. PST, and if you could, make sure you subscribe and give us a like. Welcome to the Real Estate Jam session. You know, as a real estate investor, a lot of people don't think about their marketing and branding. We always think, I just got to go get the deal. Well, you've got to have a base. And so marketing and branding is something you need to take a look at. Sharon Vornholt is here today to walk us through. She's been doing this for a lot of years, and she has probably forgot more than I will ever know. And so Sharon, thank you for coming on today.
Well, I'm excited to be here, Joe.
Yeah, I think that, you know, when I started as a real estate investor, I sure as heck wasn't thinking about how can I brand myself? How should I be marketing myself? And I see that it can be a key component to what we're trying to do now. I mean, Lord knows we do now. And so, because I think, you know, to get a seller or to really want to work with you, they like to have that history on you. And with good marketing and branding, it's there.
That's so true. And I wish I could tell you that I always knew this, but someone asked me one time, what is your biggest regret in business?
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit before, two things, not have that there, we didn't have the same mentors, availability to mentors that we had now, but branding. That is the thing I regret the most. And I remember thinking when I was just doing a few deals here and there, you know, I'm not anybody special. So why would I even think about that? And looking back, I tell people today, if you're brand new and you walk into a networking event or a real estate investors meeting or any kind of a meeting, whether you're an agent and you know absolutely nothing, you can walk up and say, hi, Joe, I'm Sharon. I'm brand spanking new, but I'm here to learn. That is your brand. You've just put yourself out there as a brand. So marketing is how you get leads in our business, but branding is why they choose you. And that's why you need to be memorable. You need to present yourself. Certainly, if you are an authority, as an authority, if you're an expert, it's okay to be brand new, though, and say, I've only done a few deals. You should always be telling people about you, because at the end of the day, they choose you. They don't choose a big company name. They don't choose a brokerage. They choose Joe because Joe is Joe.
Yep. If I'm a real estate investor, how do I get started on this path of branding? What steps should I be taking, and what should I be looking for?
Well, I tell people you can't be the best kept secret in town. So you need to certainly have a social media presence. You need to do that. You need to create some type of content. And this one scares people. And I like to tell them, you don't have to have a YouTube channel like Joe. You don't need a blog or a podcast when you start, but you do need to become visible to the world. And you can do that simply by posting in your day-to-day life. I always go back to a friend of mine, Scott, who would pull up to a really ugly, distressed property, and he would simply take pictures of it, not the address, just pictures of it. And he would say something like, I'm out looking at real estate, I'm going to buy a house this week. He did that consistently over time because you build your brand. If you don't build your brand, then other people build it for you. Your brand is really what other people say about you when you walk out of the room. It's how you are perceived to by other people. So you can do things simply like you can do walkthroughs of properties. You can post still pictures. You don't have to necessarily get real fancy with it, but with your camera, that's almost everyone has in your smartphone today, you can begin to build a brand today. Now, Don't try to be somebody you're not, just be yourself. At the end of the day, we are who we are. And the people that are attracted to work with you will choose you.
Yeah. The one thing that I tell some investors is, you invest in areas that right? So you've got all this data in your head already. If you take that data, let's say in your market, and let's do multifamily, 10 multifamily buildings on the market right now. 14 have sold over the last 6 months. Average price per square foot, average lot size, average building size. That is data that people really want. And if you're a real estate investor and you're putting that out there, they now know that you know that market very, very well.
Yeah, you want to become a resource to people. And that's what I tell people with the website. You've got to have, you need a website. That is your online business card. And you can put things on there so that people will choose you. They'll come back to you. And if let's say you were to put that data, you could put it anywhere. You could put it on Facebook. You can put it on your website. You could shoot a video about it. You could do any number of things with that information, but you want to become the go-to person for people searching for information. You've got that one exactly right.
Yeah. I think it's key is if you're bringing value, people want to talk to you. And, even brokers will take notice of it. Sellers are going to take notice of it, that you're active in the marketplace. You're just not out there to buy deals, get them in escrow, renegotiate them. If you don't get your number, then flip out and get out of it. It's just, I think it's very key. Now, you suggest a website, you just said. What about, do you suggest all social networks for a real estate investor or just a few specific?
I think it depends on your business. So
Okay.
for me, I think everyone should have a LinkedIn profile. I think that because when you are talking about branding, if you search your name or mine, all your social media profiles are going to come up. So your goal should be to own the first page of Google for your name. Now you can do that very quickly by filling out your social media profiles. With that being said, I think LinkedIn is a great resource for agents, not so much for most real estate investors. I think most real estate investors get much better traction on Facebook, maybe Instagram. But I think it depends. I have a friend who's a rehabber and she does drop dead beautiful rehabs. And what she does is she uses the visual platforms more. She has a blog and she posts on Facebook, but her people hang out on Instagram. So I think you need to look at your business. It would do you no good to be on Instagram or me if none of our people are there. Now, a lot of real estate investors and a lot of real estate agents are on Instagram today.
Sure.
But if you're not comfortable with that platform, I would say pick one or two and focus on building a presence there before you ever think about going wide. Fill out your profile, have a presence, but then focus on one and try to develop a following so that you are known as the go-to person for whatever it is.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. And there's one thing I want to touch on, that is make sure when you do your profile, you fill it out completely. And so, because a lot of people, put their name, their company, and that information, and not even have contact information. You want to make it as close to one step as you can for anybody to contact you. And so make sure your phone number is there, your email is there. Have you looked at, and I'm way too old to be talking about this, I guess, I'm told, but TikTok. Have you looked at TikTok at all?
Oh, I've looked at it. For me, it's not really a good platform for me, but I think it's a good platform for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think I can think of one investor friend of mine who does TikToks all the time. It's who she is. She's kind of goofy, but she's also wicked smart. She's got an engineering background. And she uses it very effectively. It's really counterintuitive. I think for the younger people, they certainly are much better at it than I am. But I think it's very valuable for the right person. Again, you want to be where your people are, where your ideal client hangs out is where you should focus when it comes to social media.
Okay. Now, I want to touch on the website. How often on your website you recommend they have a blog, correct?
I think it's, yes, I really do. Now, that's
Right.
not to say that if you're not going to ever blog, you should not have a website. You need a presence. With real estate, things have changed in the investing world. So when I started all those years ago, it was pretty straightforward. They would hear about you in some way. You probably remember the old bench billboard, the bench signs and all those
Oh,
crazy
yeah.
things real estate agents did. So
Mhm.
they would find out about you, whether it was direct mail marketing or whatever the way was, and they would pick up the phone and call you.
Mhm.
Now there's a step in the middle. They hear about Joe, they look him up online, and that's their first way that they see if you're a desirable person in their eyes. Then they go to your website. Then they contact you after
Right.
doing all of that. So there's a step in the middle. But yes, if you can create some type of content, it can be video, it can be a written content, it can be audio, it can be a podcast, but you need some type of content because you need to have some way to have people view you as the authority.
Yeah. The if you can't, a lot of people are so afraid to write blogs. You know, they say, "Oh,
Mhm.
I'm just not a writer." Well, there are companies out there, and a lot of people don't know this, that will write these articles for you. You can get one a week, you know, two a month. You can really go on there. So go online, search anybody. I don't know anybody by name. If you do, you're welcome to say their name here. But you know, I think having a blog does help a lot. It really, especially in your market, if it's about your
Mhm.
marketplace.
Well, my blog, and I tell people, you think you've got to have all this information. I shouldn't probably say this, but I'm kind of the person that jumps out of the plane and builds a parachute on the way down. So I started a blog in 2010. We had no idea. I had no idea what I was doing. And that's okay because
Mhm.
today there are resources, there are people to help you with that. But I started my blog primarily because we've talked about how you mess up in the early years. I wanted to
Yeah.
have content out there so that people would avoid the mistakes I made.
Yeah.
Today, I have crossed the 900 pieces of content mark. So I
Oh,
have a lot of content, but it didn't start out. Again, it all goes back to I didn't really understand just how critical it was that first year or so to building my brand. And then it was like, holy moly, this is the path.
yeah.
But you can write, you can do videos and put those up on your blog and then write a short blurb. So you don't have to be a writer. If you can't be on video, which is was hard for me in the beginning, then get behind a mic and do a podcast.
Mhm.
Again, just commit to committing to creating some kind of content that will make people notice you, that will make you stand out. And that, my friend, is a brand.
Yeah, I do think, you know, there was a friend of ours was new to investing, actually he was a real estate agent first, and he moved to Los Angeles. He was a public speaker before, so he's a great speaker, but this is before video and all that. So
Mhm.
he goes, "How do I become the number one condo king in Santa Monica?" And so what he did is, I think, genius. I learned a lot from him. And he put all these different publications. He had his photo in there, and he posted other properties that were for sale
Mhm.
in the area. Didn't say they were his listings, just everything for area in the area. And it was in local publications. It was on the company website. It was on mailers back when they were doing mailers. He emailed
Mhm.
all of Santa Monica with them. And so
Mhm.
people saw that he was everywhere, right? So
Yeah.
he'd only been in business for like 6 weeks, and all of a sudden these publications started popping up wherever you'd see him and his partner, and they were doing condos, and they were kind of did
Mhm.
themselves the condo kings of Santa Monica.
Mhm.
Nobody knew they were new. They had
Yeah.
enough
Oh,
content out
absolutely.
there. Yeah, they had enough content out there that it just everybody thought, wow, these guys. I'm amazed I haven't seen these people before because they've get done so much.
There's actually a book out there called You Everywhere. I think it was about maybe Mike Koenigs or something. That's exactly the strategy. But I
Okay.
tell people, put your picture on everything.
Yeah.
People today, they go, I don't need a business card. Yes, you do. You need a real business card. And one of the most overlooked ways of branding yourself is through networking.
Yeah.
It's almost free, or you might have to buy a lunch or something, but it's a free method It's a way to meet people. It's a way to hand them the business card, but you don't just hand them a business card. You need to introduce yourself. You need to leave some type of an impression, like I'm this person and I'm the condo king. You need to somehow connect the dots between your picture, the business card, and you. But I think people, especially people that are introverted, and it might be hard to believe, but I'm a fully recovered introvert today. But
I wouldn't have noticed.
I was the person who used to look around the room of the sea of 500 investors and look for an open chair with somebody that I knew. So it took me a hot minute to figure out this whole networking thing. But that is one of the biggest ways to build your brand. If you've done 3 wholesale deals, or you have 3 closed transactions as a realtor, you are a realtor, you are a real estate investor, you are a wholesaler. Yep. And you can proudly walk in a room. You don't have to say, I've only done 3 deals. Nope, I'm a real estate realtor, or I'm a wholesaler, or I'm a rehabber, whatever it is. That's your claim to fame.
Yeah, and it comes down to preparation. If you're going to go to networking meetings and you've got a market you're working, just know that market better than everybody else. If you've done 1 deal, but you know that market better than anybody else, it gives a perception that you've been doing this a long time. It's just preparation. Now, one thing on branding, a lot of people, the website looks one way, their social looks another way, their business card looks another way. I always recommend to them, keep it consistent across the board. Is that what you go for as well?
It is. And while branding at its core is about how people feel about you, it's all about that feeling. The physical attributes of branding should be consistent. Your logo, you should have some sort of a logo. Your color should be consistent. You should understand color and the perception of color. Different colors mean different things, like blue is trustworthy. Yellow is, sunshiny and perky. But so you want to choose your colors, and then you want to have a consistent look. Use, to some extent, consistent fonts, so that if they go to your website and they go to your podcast, there's something in their brain that says, oh, I just went from here to here, and I'm in the right place.
Yeah. If the look is consistent.
The look.
I agree. There's one thing I want to touch. Are you finding that investors are using mailers still? And is that effective?
Absolutely.
It is. Okay.
I have always worked off-market deals, because the introvert that used to be sitting in this chair, she didn't like scrapping around on the MLS with thousands of realtors and investors. And I just went the easy route, off-market deals. That's always been my specialty. Now, within that, I work probates, and 100% of the time, probates, the way you reach them, the way you succeed with them, is through an old-fashioned direct mail letter, not a yellow letter, but a professional mail merge letter. The success rate is very high with that, and it's still an awesome way to generate those types of leads.
Yeah, here in California, it's less than 1% return on mailers. So I think it just depends on where you're at in the market around the country. But here it hasn't been highly effective. What do you do? Do you do email programs as well?
Email to motivated sellers, or?
Yeah, well, just for business. Are you doing to sellers, to potential sellers, that is?
I have, so we're both somewhat in the education space.
Right.
So my list is really based around content, sending content to those people and helping to educate them and around the ways that I can help them grow their business. Okay. And also to send them relevant content about what's happening in the market. Okay.
This is something that I had a conversation with about last week, and that's the list that you buy. Do you guys buy lists to cold call on, or do you still do that? I don't know if that's even effective.
Well, there are services where you can, for certain sellers, like if you wanted to work out-of-state absentee owners, there are lists. Yes, to answer your question, there are certain lists that you can buy, maybe even as an investor, if you wanted to work pre-foreclosures, whatever that list was. So yes, now probates are very much list specific. They're county specific. So with probate, you have to find out how to get the list. And in my area, they're not available. It makes sense that there's not a list that can be pulled and sold.
Gotcha.
So we have to get those lists locally, like you might do code violations in your area or something like that. So they're a local list.
Okay. Yeah, it's something, and those lists are very hit and miss. So if you're a listener and you're going to go out and buy a list, really do your due diligence in finding the right list, because we've actually, when we first started, we bought a couple lists, and I think 50% of them just didn't work. The numbers didn't work.
Well, I think for me, the main list that I used to buy, well, one of the lists I would buy would be out-of-state owners. Within that list, I didn't buy the whole list. I had pretty strict criteria: 50% or more equity, these types of houses. I took the bad zip codes out. So I had a very tight list, really pretty small by the time I got done with it. And I had good luck with it. But I think you have to know what you expect from your marketing. So for out-of-state absentee owners, I used to call them marketing money. So I was never going to get rich on them, but I got enough deals that it paid for my marketing. So I was okay with that because it was 100% automated.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a great way to do it. All right. I kind of want to recap here real quick, and then I want you to bring up your blog and your podcast and your probate program. All right. So I'm a new investor. I need to build a website right away. Make sure my colors are spot on for what I'm doing. Make sure you get easy access to me. Blog, great pictures. And how often should I be putting content on there? Once a week, twice a week?
Once a week if you can. Yeah, in the beginning, I suggest if you can put up a couple of pieces just to get your site ranked. Okay. It doesn't have to be anything huge, but to show up a couple times a week, and then once a week is sufficient.
Okay. Another thing that I always like to bring up, Sharon, is reviews. If you've done a transaction with somebody, get reviews, post that up on your website as well. Those are always good. And then make sure you have a presence on at least a couple of the social programs, LinkedIn, or social sites, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok. So choose a couple at least and make sure you're consistent there. In your area, test doing mailers and see how that works for you. And all this comes down to bringing value in every one of these pieces of marketing, and then an email program and maybe a cold call list. Did I miss anything there?
I don't think so. I think the key is I like to tell people to, if you're doing for lead generation, you should have 3 to 5 ways to get leads. And I think when it comes to marketing, it's the same principle. You want to spread out you want to focus on certain platforms, but you want to have a presence in a lot of places. So that's the way you want to think. The big picture is when they pull up your name on Google, that you have something in every slot. That's that's your first thing. And then from there, like if you pulled up Joe's name or my name, we've been doing this a long time. So we're going to have pages and pages. Hopefully, it just solidifies your brand. This is all about people going, hey, he's a real good agent, or she's a good investor, or whatever it is, because you've got that proof on Google.
Yeah. There's one thing that I think I wanted to bring up, and that's your sphere of influence. You're going to get the people that are around you, college alumni, high school friends, people in your churches, synagogues, wherever you go, and just your community. Reach out to them, tell them exactly what you're doing, and make sure that they know what you're doing. Email them, call them, and let them know. Okay, so Sharon, tell me, your podcast is Let's Talk Real Estate Investing. Your blog is on your website, or what's the address to your blog?
This goes back to not having a clue about naming things all those years ago. It's Louisville Gals Real Estate Blog.
Louisville Gals Real Estate Blog, not Louisville.
No, that's in Colorado somewhere.
I can't, how often I get corrected with that one. And then your probate, you offer a probate class, correct?
Yes, it's an online course called Probate Investing Simplified.
Okay. I'm going to put the links to those down below so people can find you and reach out to you. And Sharon, thank you very much for coming on today. I think we learned a lot.
Well, thank you, Joe, for having me. It's been fun.
Yes, it has been. And for those of you watching, if you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe and like this video, and we'll see you again next week.